Hello everybody, welcome back to my Shadowgate 64 80% tutorial. Where we last left off, we were on the roof of the cathedral and about to enter the second dungeon, or Lakmir's tower. In order to enter Lakmir's tower, we simply need to examine this window and press A, like so. Once we come into this first room, if you look to your left, there is a shelf. There's nothing on it. We simply want to continue forward through the door. And once we come into this room, there are a lot of things and directions we can go in. There's a staircase to our left, and although you can't see it, there is another door on that wall there, on the other side of it. There's also two doors to our right. You can kind of see one sticking out there, and then there's another door right here. We want to go into this door first. Coming into this room, there's three things we need to do. If you look directly to your left, you'll see a barrel with a piece of wood on it. Walk forward and examine this barrel. It says there is a cover on the barrel. Select yes to open the cover. You can see it's a barrel full of water. Once the cover is off the barrel, go into your item menu and select the dragon tears. You'll use the dragon tears on the water. Now, we will be revisiting this barrel a little bit later in the dungeon in order to get some of this water and dragon tears, but we don't have anything to put it in currently. It's quicker to go ahead and do this now because the dragon tears is in the first slot in our inventory since it's the last item that we collected. So we go ahead and do this now to save some time. But we have one other object to pick up in this room. If you look to your right, you'll see a stove. We want to just kind of walk down this path. You'll see this gray sort of bottle sitting on the shelf here. It says you found a bottle containing oil. We want to take it with us. After we've collected this, simply turn around and leave. There's nothing else in the room for us. Once we leave the room, you can see there is a door directly across the way. We're not going to be going in there yet. So instead, we're going to turn to our left, and we're going to go down these stairs. I do, however, want to take a moment to mention this door here. This room is a completely useless room. It is empty. There is nothing in it. There's not even furniture. It's literally just an empty room. If anybody can find some sort of secret or has any information on anything that might actually be in this room, please let me know. I would be very interested. Anyway, continue forward down the stairs. When we get down the stairs here, we're in a simple long hallway with only a door in front of us, which we'll be going through. But first, we get a small scene with Lakmir. Simply mash A to get through the text, and hold forward as Lakmir fades away, and examine the door. Now this loading zone, we're going to be passing through quite a few times, and it's one I actually want to take a moment to talk about. What we need to do is we need to go down the stairs, and this is pretty simple. However, if you look, there's a railing in front of us, and you can go either left or right. Left and right are the same exact speed. It's a matter of preference as to which direction you go in. I'm going to choose to go left. It's the direction I usually go in. But again, you can go right if you like. But there is one thing to mention before going down the stairs. If you look, the banister to the stairs sticks out from this railing a little bit. And it actually sticks out way further than what you might would expect. If we walk into it here, you can see we're not even fully against it, but we can't continue forward. It's pretty easy to get stuck on this banister when you're trying to go down the stairs from either direction. So I typically cut this corner a little extra wider than normal just to make sure that I get around it. Coming down the stairs, we're going to come into this main area. You'll see a big pipe here and another one over there. They're useless to us. Coming around the corner, you'll see there is a door to our left. This door is blocked and can never be opened as far as I'm aware. If anyone knows a way to open this door, please let me know. To the right, though, is the door we need to go in. So continue on through the door. In this room here, you'll see a stairwell right in front of us. To our left, there is a door and a hallway with nothing in it. There's nothing in that door for us that we need. If we look to the right, we'll find the same. A small hallway and a door. There is something in this door here, but it's faster to collect it later when we come back through this area due to the way the inventory system works. Still, I wanted to make a note of it now. So for now, simply go forward down the stairs. Once we're in this room, it's a very, very small hallway with a metal door in front of us. If you examine the door, it'll say it's rusted and can't open. If you recall, we picked up a bottle of oil. Use the bottle of oil on the door, which greases the hinges. And then we can go forward and go through the door. Once we get into this room, we can only go forward for now, so go forward. There's nothing in front of us, so we need to go left. Going left, we'll see a door. Enter the door. In this room, you'll see a variety of what appears to be machinery. We're going to be going to the machines on the right side of the room, over here. Walking up to it, you'll see there is an object on the center of this door. This object is somewhat finicky positioning-wise, so there's no shame in making sure that you have it good and centered on your screen so that you can interact with it properly. It is the star crest. We want to take it with us. Once we have the star crest, turn around, and we're going to backtrack through the dungeon. And since we've already seen these loading zones, I'm not going to be going over the directions we need to go in as thoroughly. I'm going to show you an example of what speed looks like in this game by using direction buffers as we pass through loading zones. So let's see what I mean. When I pass through this door, I'm going to be holding right on the right C, and I'm going to be holding right on the joystick to be turning in that direction. Once I've turned all the way around, I'm going to hold forward, or rather up C, in order to go forward, because again, forward movement is your fastest mode of movement. However, if we need to go to the right or left, it is a little faster to strafe and turn at the same time, if you can see what I mean, and then hold forward, so that we're already going in the proper direction while we're turning. So, again, let me show you what some good buffer movement looks like. Again, we're just going back the way we came. Like so. Now, before we continue through this door, we need to make a small pit stop to this door on our left. If you recall, I said there was a few objects we needed in here. So we're going to go into this door. There are 2 items in here we need to collect, although there are 4 items total. The first item that we're going to be collecting is behind that column on the far side of the wall. If we come over here, you can barely see it on the ground there. It is a rusty key. We definitely want to be taking the rusty key with us. It's an extremely useful item for later, although not required. Turning to the right, we want to come to the other side of this desk, and you can see a mug on the desk. You want to collect this mug. After collecting the mug, simply turn around and leave the room. From here, we're going left, not down the stairs, not through the door directly in front of us, but left to backtrack through the dungeon. And again, I'll be buffering some directions for the sake of demonstrating speed. And to reiterate, buffering is simply holding a direction before I have control of the character so that I move on the earliest possible frame. Like so. Now coming into this room, this is the first area of the dungeon that we came into, if you recall. And there are 4 doors. Again, this is the empty room with nothing. The second door there leaves the dungeon, which we will be taking later. And then we have the 2 doors on the far end of the hallway here. We're going to want to go to the door on our right, which is the door that had the barrel full of water from earlier. Turn to your left, walk up to the barrel, and select the mug. Dale will dip some of the water and dragon tears from the barrel. If you recall, we put some dragon tears in the water. After we have that, leave the room. Then we're going in the door directly across the way. Once we enter this room, you'll see a large dining table. There's nothing on this side of the room for us, but to our right, you'll see a fireplace with some purple flames. Walk up to this fireplace and use the water with dragon tears. This will extinguish the flame, and you'll notice there is a spot behind it that looks like we can put an object in it. Specifically, the star crest that we grabbed from the basement of the dungeon. You want to use the star crest, dismiss the text box, and leave. Then we need to go back downstairs. So I'm going to be buffering some quick directions and working our way back downstairs as quickly as possible. So here I'm holding left C and left to move while I'm turning, and then I hold forward after I've fully turned around so that I keep going in the direction I need to go in. So again, we're simply backtracking backwards. Well, I guess technically forwards, but backwards relative to where we just were, to get back in the room where we collected the star crest. Once in this room, we need to go up to where we got the star crest and examine this. It's actually a door that is now open. This takes us into the back half of this dungeon. Once into this room, you can see this sort of lattice in front of us. We can't pass through that, but if we look to our left, there are 3 statues. Now, these statues have a very particular order that they need to be interacted with in order to solve the puzzle. I'll be going over that order, but before you can even get to the statues, we're going to get a small cutscene with Lakmir. If you notice, I was automatically going towards the statue on the left. That is the first statue we need to interact with. Luckily, you don't need to actually press anything to interact with these statues. All you have to do is walk into them, and you'll warp. So, again, the statue all the way to the left. Once you get to this room here, you can see that there are 2 statues. We need to interact with the statue on the right. Then we get to a room that has 4 statues. So which one is the correct statue? The correct is the one on the top right corner. Once we get into this room, you can see we're in a room with two more statues. Again, the statue on the right is the correct answer. And then we are in the final room of this sequence, also with 2 statues, one on the right, one on the left. We want to interact with the statue all the way to the left. So to reiterate the statue puzzle, the correct sequence is left, right, 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 left. Once you finish the puzzle, if you look to our left, there's another statue. Do not interact with it. It'll warp you back to the beginning of the statue sequence. It will be useful later when we need to leave the dungeon, but for now, we want to look to the right, and you'll see a staircase. You'll also notice that we're on the other side of the lattice mentioned a bit earlier, but we need to go up the staircase. Once we're up the stairs, you can see that there are 2 doors directly in front of us, and to our left, nothing. We want to go through the door on the left. Coming into this room here, if you look to the right, you'll see a shelf with some items. All of those items are useless to us in the any % category. Instead, we're going to look to our left, and you'll notice a large machine. This machine has the capability to forge a key out of a metal object. What you want to do is walk up to the machine and press B to enter your item menu. Now, there are 4 total items that can forge the key. Those items are the crowbar, the iron bar, the pickaxe, and an item called the nail, which we did not pick up. It's crucial that you do not use the pickaxe. The pickaxe is going to be used later in the run in order to save a little bit of time, and I'll explain that in that section of the tutorial. But for now, you can choose either the iron bar or the crowbar. I'm going to choose the crowbar. You can see that the crowbar goes into the machine, and the machine spits out a key. Collecting this key can be a little bit finicky, because if you're here, we can't interact with it. You need to be on the other side of this machine fully and forward enough to collect it. And it can be a little bit finicky. Once we've collected the key, we can simply leave this room. There's nothing in here for us at that point, unless we're running 100%. From here, directly across the way through this door. Once we're in this room, if you look to our right, there's some stuff over there that we're going to be doing. There's a desk in front of us, and there's some stuff there we'll also be doing. But the first thing we need to do is come to the left, and there's two items on this shelf. A quill, like a feather quill pin, on right there. We do not need to collect that object. But we do, however, need this vial of blue potion. The night elixir. So collect the night elixir, and then turn all the way around. We're going to be going back in this direction and onto the bed. Once you're up onto the bed, if you turn to your left, you'll see a small dish. Here we want to mix the proper potion. If you mix the wrong potion, you will get a game over, so be sure to mix the right one. It's easy to know what the correct potion is. You need to use the night elixir that we just collected, and the liquid sunset that we collected from earlier as well. This will create a purple potion, and the purple potion will reveal the way forward for us. Unfortunately, you can't solve this puzzle without creating the purple potion that I'm aware of. Once that's solved, come off of the bed, and we're actually going to step up onto this chair. It's kind of important to step up onto the right side of the chair, relatively. You can step up onto it anywhere, but I've noticed if you step up onto the left side, we kind of can't really interact with what we need to, so it's better to step up onto the right side. You'll get a small scripted scene where Dell looks around, and if you look up and to the right, you'll see this red dot. Get it onto your screen, and use the crest key. This unlocks a door that is to our left, right there. Go into the door. In this room here, you'll look down, and you'll see there are 3 pedestals with objects on them. In 100%, we would need to collect all 3 of these objects, and they do all have some uses, I suppose. This object here is the blue ring. The blue ring reverses your controls when it's equipped. That may not seem useful, but there is a section later where it can have some relative use. The ring on the end is the green ring. If you equip that ring, your character dies. Yes, seriously. Not much of a use for that. We need to collect the object in the middle, the red ring, which is the Ring of the Dead. This completes the second dungeon, or Lakmir's Tower. I am going to continue the tutorial from here, though, and leave the dungeon as well, so that you all can see the path out of the dungeon, too. But before we can do that, we get a cutscene introducing us to our villain, Belzar. I will now let that cutscene play, for the sake of posterity. So, once we watch the cutscene, Lakmir explains who the villain was, and now we are finished with the dungeon, and all we need to do is leave. There are some small quirks to leaving the dungeon, though, and I'll go over them as we get to them. So once we have that over, turn around and leave the room. From here, we're backtracking, so do try and keep up, as I'm going to be doing movement buffers to go quickly. Again, to show an example of what speed would be like. Although here we're going to take a brief moment. There's nowhere here for us to go other than the statue I mentioned before that takes us back to the beginning. Just walk into the statue. Since we want to leave, it's, useful now. Once we enter this room, there are two doors. This door here will take us back into the statue puzzle. You want to just go into the door directly in front. So this brings us into a completely different room. And if you're really astute, you may notice that we've been in this room before. It's actually the room with the metal door, and this door here that leads to where we collected the star crest, and also entered the door that was left behind where the star crest was. We want to leave the dungeon though, so just go forward through the metal door. And again, we're just exiting the dungeon. Once you get to the final room here, in order to leave the dungeon, we need to go to the second door on our right. And in order to leave, we examine that window in front of us. And this will be the end of this section of the tutorial and the end of Lakmir's Tower. Thanks for watching.